in general will not consider someone's education or credibility when voting. That is the latest findings of a poll that was carried out by Jesuit Hakimani Centre into the 2017 election agenda. Kenyans are increasingly getting disillusioned with their genuine papers because they cannot find jobs despite a government crackdown on those with fake certificates. Despite more Kenyans enrolling for higher education, the report says the same people now feel they have been making worthless investments. All right, let's take a look at some of the pointers or some of the key issues from that particular research done, or that poll done by Jesuit Hakimani, before we get into a discussion with Dr. Elias Mukua. So 8 in 10 Kenyans, which is 70%, see having good papers as useless. That's more than half of the Kenyans saying that having good papers is just useless because it doesn't affect how you will work, etc. 77% of Kenyans blame the universities they study in for giving them education that does not respond to the market demands. So 77% of Kenyans, just 1 point from those who see them as useless, say that they blame universities because some of the things they're taught there are not in tandem with what the market demands. 40% of Kenyans blame the government for doing little to nurture talent or have them develop skills outside of the classroom. So 77% blame the universities they study in. 40% take it to the government for not nurturing the talent they have or developing their skills outside what they get from the classrooms. So Kenyans in general will not consider someone's education or credibility when they're voting, and 20% say they would look out for leaders with a clean track record rather than a clean certificate. And of course, this comes against the background of the scandal that is currently dogging Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho, and he is being investigated for allegedly having fake certificates. But let's just understand what will form the basic conversations ahead of the August 8th polls. Will Kenyans prefer a leader with certificates and no good track record, or track record and we did not go to school? Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Elias Mukua from Jesuit Hakimani, to help us understand that. So we have had all talk about having leaders who don't have certificates, but now from the poll you conducted, or from the research you conducted, Kenyans are saying, no, this is not important. We have other things that we are more worried about. What are these things?
First of all, Kenyans in general tend to look at someone who is very good in articulating their issues at a local level. Now, to articulate does not necessarily mean to implement.
Yeah.
So that's why the issues of what exactly is the agenda for this election is very important. We don't have a single coalition that's really articulating specific issues that at the grassroots are really very pronounced. You know, like say Trump, he talks about the walls, he talks about these illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
But in our situation, we don't have one single issue that's really standing out. Of course, the closest is corruption from both coalitions. The government is concerned, the opposition is concerned. So, but the big issues that really from the research should be very pronounced are the health, for example. Kenyans are very concerned about health, agriculture, infrastructure, and especially roads. These are really, really big issues, and security. In which case, then we say, when you look at these campaigns at the moment,
we're not seeing them being addressed.
They are not really there. They come, you know, someone talks about we'll improve agriculture, we'll support security, everyone needs to feel safe. But really, there's nothing to show that we're really digging into this sector, make it a priority, and we'll invest both financially and in human resource.
So 76% of Kenyans, from your research, say that clean papers or credible papers are useless, and they will vote for someone regardless of the kind of papers they have, whether they have them or not. What does this say about the credible of the kind of leadership we have in this country?
First of all, the word used perhaps is a little bit too strong. But what they want to say, we love education. Kenyans really value education. And it will be completely unfair to say that Kenyans are not interested in education or the papers have no value per se. But if you juxtapose that with voting, then you realize that good papers do not necessarily make a good leader. And good papers do not guarantee you to be voted in. For example, in 2013, we had Professor Kiapi, as opposed to other candidates. All of them equally able, but the papers, the credentials of professor are so way up there in terms of intellectual preparedness. But I don't think he was, the leading in the pack. And there are many other examples we can pick. So in one sense, what we are saying as educated, jobless Kenyans is that whether you're educated or not, really that's not the most important thing. It's really important to deliver something or to make me be convinced that if I vote you, you're gonna do something. Now, but that's a little bit optimistic. We know that even other parts of this research show that are issues important? Well, not that much. It's really very much whom do I feel close to, who engages me, who makes me feel like I'm useful, but not necessarily who delivers, who is committing to what. Really, that there's a disparity in that sense. And so credible leaders are important. We know Chapter 6 of the Constitution, even if some of us are not lawyers, but the basics we know that we're supposed to elect good, credible, responsible leaders. But is that what the voters are really interested, especially the more educated part of the society that we interviewed? Really, that's not the most important. That's not the most important. The papers are not the most important.
If Kenyans found out that their leader forged papers, because it is a requirement for you to run to get a degree and some other papers, would they still vote for him?
Well, that's a question of saying if someone is corrupt, can we still vote for him? Unfortunately, in Kenya, we don't look at criminal records, we don't look at corrupt practices. We haven't really emphasized integrity strong enough. But I think the question of fake papers and the question of corruption in terms of financial malpractices are very different. Because in terms of papers, if someone has a fake paper, people will begin to say, what's the background? Is that the best that person could have achieved? Did this person score an A or an E just because they were sick, the family was undergoing some, difficulties? And I think most Kenyans will understand. I don't think many Kenyans will condemn someone that they have a low grade and therefore they can't lead. But the act of fake paper, I think that's a legal issue that can take its own dimension, and I don't think I'm the most qualified to talk on it.
We're getting to that, but as part of that conversation, let's now listen into what Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho said about his academic qualifications when allegations were made that he forged his documents.
I take pride of my results in the year 1993, and I should be an inspiration to other Kenyans that not doing well in Form 4 doesn't mean it's the end of the road for you. Any serious leader would want to use that to inspire the young people that never made it for one reason or another. So as I stand here today, yes, I'm a holder of a D-, but I have been able to change that into real progress. And so that you know, even now, I am a student of an MBA.
So when we have leaders who are proud of their D-, and as he says, we should use this as a story of hope for young students, what exactly are we telling the young Kenyans?
Well, number one, let's look at the positive side of what he says. Yeah, he's saying that should you happen to have a low grade, do not lose hope. Just believe in yourself. Something can happen. Opportunities are there. It's not the end of the road. And after all, we do know that actually in every exam, especially the primary and secondary schools, most students actually don't make it. There are a number of failures, really high number of failures, and very few end up in university because the university slots are not as many. So the positive side of this is to say that don't lose hope. You still are valuable, which is very important for young people because not everyone has great minds, great intellectual minds. Some people are talented differently. They can use art, they can be good farmers, they can be good hawkers, they can be, there are many other options, and that's what it's saying. Perhaps this downside of this is to say that, look, if you think you are good in business, don't mind about education. Because the problem is if you are a leader and you legislate, especially at the county assembly, at the National Assembly, there are some policy issues that need a certain level of engagement, some complex issues too. Some issues are local, global. Some issues are scientific data that need deeper understanding and integration, interpretation. So in that sense, the education is important. But leadership, per se, is not really pegged on education alone.
All right. Elias Makua, thank you so much for coming in here as the director of Jesuit Hakimani, who did that particular research on academic